Gold and silver's parabolic bull run is putting more and more banks at serious risks, and we have a lot of rumors flying that the parabolic rally of silver today on Monday is a little bit of a warning sign that a financial system reset could be close. I know that sounds crazy, but silver just saw its largest single day rally in over 15 years, going all the way back to 2008. That was the last time we saw a financial crisis. We can see silver is up 12.5% on the day, and this silver short squeeze is putting a lot of banks under pressure. And I think we have a little bit of a World Economic Forum insider here making some really interesting claims about what was being spoken about behind closed doors at Davos. There was a lot of talk publicly about a financial system reset in Switzerland this week, but apparently a lot of these conversations were also happening behind closed doors. Let's listen to this little clip I've got for you guys.
To unpack when it comes to what happened this week in Davos, I think it was probably one of the most important sessions that they've had since their inception in 1971. But one thing that I wanted to share with the posse is the fact that a lot of attention was paid to the sort of geopolitical reshuffling and, this new world order and the changes to this new world order and what that entails. But there is one thing that I think is very important and we mustn't lose sight of, is the fact that in the background, parallel to the AI focus, the topic of many of the panels this week was actually on the economics and the new, quote, financial reset that they've been preparing and building out for many years. And so I just want to read a couple of the panel's titles to give a little bit of context to what I'm saying. So you have, is tokenization the future? Where are we on stable coins? A new era for finance, banking accelerated, central banking beyond the mandate. And so what we are seeing is all these heads of central banks like Christine Lagarde of the ECB, IMF head, WTO head, and various international financial institutions getting together, having these conversations, especially with Larry Fink, the new mayor in town, the co-interim chair leading many of these discussions. And what we have to understand is that there is this reset that is coming, this important sessions that they...
I'm going to talk a little bit more about the resets in a moment. The reason why I paused that clip is I want to stay focused on what gold and silver is doing for now. And I kind of want to explain where this rally for gold and silver might be going and what it might be signaling. Because we can see pretty clearly the bankers are freaking out about gold and silver. Silver literally was up 15% on the day before I did this live stream, but it looks as if the plunge protection team stepped in. And as you can see, they've slammed silver down from a high of $118 an ounce back down to $112 an ounce. But what's really interesting is do not pay attention to the price of gold and silver just in America, because there's a lot of paper, gold and silver. There's a lot of price suppression games that do go on inside America. I always encourage you guys, have a look at what gold and silver is doing all around the world. We can see here, I found this tweet this morning. I think it's pretty illuminating. In Japan, the price for 1 ounce is $145 an ounce. In the UAE, it's $165 an ounce for 1 ounce of silver. China, $140 an ounce. And apparently, in the COMEX in America, it's $100 an ounce. Do you see the problem? That is a 45 to 80% divergence between the paper price and the physical clearing price. This is not a healthy market, as this tweet kind of illuminates. COMEX is suppressed because these massive bullion banks are sitting on huge net short exposure. And this rally that we're seeing this week is causing absolute chaos for all these banks who are massively short silver. I found this article I want to cover, a pretty interesting quote that I found in it. The scale of the problem in the gold and silver markets is monumental. An analysis of market data reveals that short positions are equivalent to approximately 4.4 billion ounces of silver. This figure stands in stark contrast to the global annual mining production of silver, which is somewhere around 800 million ounces. So right now, the short positions of silver, if my maths is correct, is more than 5 times the yearly annual supply of the physical metal. This is nuts. This is huge short exposure. This is why we're seeing continued and growing rumors of a lot of banks with a lot of stress on their books. We can see last week when silver was trading at $90 per ounce, by the way, we're at 118 this morning, the potential liability for institutions holding these short positions balloons to an estimated $390 billion. Think about that for a moment. $390 billion. The bailout that was required in 2008 to save the bankrupt banks who had a lot of these subprime mortgage-backed securities on their books was $700 billion. Right now, the banks have liabilities of somewhere around $600 billion because of their short positions in silver. I know they're not an equivalence, but it's somewhat similar. They're sitting on toxic assets. These banks are in a lot of stress. These banks are in a lot of trouble. And by all reports, the higher the price of gold and silver is going, the bigger this stress will rise. And everything fundamentally is screaming that things are, let's just say, fundamentally, they're positive for gold and silver. I can say that. Who knows where the price of anything is going to go? But what is interesting is central banks are still buying enormous amounts of gold and silver. This chart is looking at the central bank purchases of gold and silver. We know that gold was just made a Basel III asset once again. And what's super interesting is, again, in the first part of that clip that we played for you guys, they were talking a lot about gold and silver at Davos. Why is that? It's because it's very clear the economic system is broken. This here is the year of Doge, and it's looking at the billions of dollars of debt that was accumulated by America in 2024 versus 2025. What's the difference? There is no difference. Why? It's because the economic system needs more money printing. This is what gold and silver is sniffing. Lynn Alden tweets, the train was so unstoppable that one cannot even see a small blip where Doge tried to slow down government spending, nearly as if it never happened. Somebody show me the slowdown or the blip on this chart in 2025. It's non-existent because there is no stopping this train. That is what gold and silver is screaming. Something else I noticed today, the Dixie, again, you guys know we are not a trading channel. Technical analysis is astrology for men, but I did see this. This is a 50-year chart of the Dixie. We've been hovering around and bouncing off this white trend line for 15 years. Yeah, it varies. You could draw it this way or that way. That's why I'm just not a fan of technical analysis. But it doesn't matter how you draw this line. We are breaking down from a 15-year trend line as most people are coming to the realization that in 2026, there is going to be a shit ton of money printed. It's as simple as that. Excuse my French if you're watching with the kids. It is undeniable that we're going to see waves of liquidity. Again, I think Tavi Costa here sums it up nicely in this tweet that I want to share and show you guys here. This is looking a lot like hyperinflation, and we are living through very, very, very extraordinary times with what gold and silver has done. Again, silver is literally hyperinflating the US dollar right now as we talk. This is not normal price action. Tavi says, I will repeat what I've said before. This move in metals has real hyperinflation vibes. And it is. I don't think that's parabolic. It's nuts. It's remarkable how little that's been discussed in the broader narrative. But here's the plot twist. It is being discussed. I want to play you guys another clip that I saw that came out of Davos this week, and it's wild. I still haven't covered half of what I saw at Davos. Again, I've forced myself to watch nearly all of the speeches that happened at the World Economic Forum this week, and I still haven't got through half of it. This is another clip that I don't think I've showed you guys yet. This is Ursula von der Leyen, the Commissioner of the European Union. Let's listen to what she says.
1971 was the year of the so-called Nixon shock, and the decision to delink the US dollar from gold. In an instant, the foundations of the Bretton Woods system and the entire global economic order set up after the war effectively collapsed. But it also had two major effects. It inadvertently created the conditions for what would become a truly global order, and it provided a sharp lesson for Europe and on the need to strengthen its economic and political power. It was a warning to reduce our dependencies, in this case, on a foreign currency. The world may be very different today, without any question, but I believe the lesson is very much the same. That geopolitical shocks can and must serve as an opportunity for Europe. And in my view, the seismic change we are going through today is an opportunity, in fact, a necessity, to build a new form of Europe.
A new form of Europe. Don't you think that's an interesting quote? But again, she's talking about the Nixon shock, 1971. This is the year that America got taken off the gold standard. Again, the same year that the World Economic Forum was created, 1971. Coincidences everywhere. I think that's super interesting. Something else that I do find super interesting is right now, have a look at the rally silver has seen. It just crossed $5 trillion of market cap. It is officially bigger than Nvidia, bigger than Apple, bigger than Google. Right now, this is wild what we are seeing in the markets. Gold and silver are now number 1 and number 2 as the top assets around the world. And again, I'll remind you, silver has literally gone from like $30 an ounce to $120 an ounce in less than a year. If you do the math, silver has added something like $4 trillion of market cap in under a year. A lot of people say that, Bitcoin can never see a big parabolic rally again. They say it's impossible for Bitcoin to see a parabolic rise, and we're seeing diminishing returns. Well, I'll remind you, Bitcoin's a $2 trillion market cap asset right now. If we saw $4 trillion try to come into Bitcoin, that would send Bitcoin to over $5 million a coin. I know that sounds crazy. I'll do the maths in a moment and how the multiplier effect weighs into those maths that we're going to run. But again, this is the chart of silver right now. If silver can go from $1 trillion to $5 trillion in a matter of 6 months, I don't think anything should be unexpected with the markets over the next few months. I can see a couple of people in the chat say, what are the premiums? All Night Hider says premiums. Premiums are huge. Now, I want to show you guys something else that All Night Hider said. What's the actual availability of physical? I had a quick look because I have seen a lot of people struggling to get their hands on the physical gold. It looks like there are no large physical silver bars left across major bullion dealers. Nada, niet. Furthermore, it looks like deliveries expected in February are almost sold out too. So this is a post going viral on Twitter. The Bullion Star, they don't have anything. JM Bullion, nothing. SD Bullion, nothing. You have to notify me when you want to buy silver. They don't have it. How about APMX? Nada. Alert me. Please alert me in a year when you've got available physical silver for sale. Now, this reminds me of something else that is very important to be aware of with the physical gold and silver market. It's liquidity. Sure, there's a lot of people who've bought gold and silver, but when they've gone to go and sell it, well, it's a little bit of a different story. Let me show you this tweet that blew up on Twitter this week from a gentleman called Stoic Trader, who is sitting on 1,000 ounces of silver bars. As you can see, this tweet got 1.5 million views. And a lot of people were kind of confirming in the comment section that they have experienced similar situations. So he says, he bought physical. It did what everyone says to do. Real assets. Get your real assets outside the system. When everything collapses, you'll be glad you have it. Well, this gentleman tried to sell some last week. He's still trying to sell some today. Apparently, refiners won't touch it. The dealers are lowballing him with 30% under spot. So that means he's trying to unload silver at, let's say, 110 an ounce, and the dealers won't give him a better price than $65 an ounce or $70 an ounce. That's a 30% discount on spot. It's insane. When you think about it, how filthy would you be? Banks look at me like I'm selling contraband. Turns out, quote unquote, owning something and being able to, quote unquote, exit something are two very different skills. This is the same trap I see in trading. Supply and demand is an incredible lesson that everybody should try to learn. And you can see here in the comments section, try converting it to Bitcoin as fast as you can so you never have this headache again. Again, we always talk about solutions and a little bit of craziness to the problems. There is a reason why I'm such a big advocate of Bitcoin. You can sell it on an open market. Bitcoin is the most liquid market. It trades 24/7, 365, and you're going to be able to sell it at the price it is. You don't have to sell it 30% under spot. Again, get your hands on some Bitcoin, get the physical, the real stuff. Similar principles with gold and silver. If you don't have the physical, you don't own it. So again, this is why I always encourage you guys to learn more about how you can mine Bitcoin. I think Blockware is the best place, not only in America, but in the world for you guys to learn more about mining. They can help you whether you want to buy the Bitcoin mining rigs yourself or whether you want to take advantage of their hosted mining service. And again, if you've got capital gains taxes, most people have no idea that because of the big beautiful bill, you can get a 100% write-off on your capital gains by simply buying Bitcoin miners. Again, who knows how long that'll be available for my American friends, but take advantage of it because again, even though gold and silver is going parabolic right now, we know what is probably going to happen. Nothing goes up in a straight line, especially when the chart looks like this. We do know capital typically flows out of precious metals into Bitcoin. Gold and silver move first. They smell the debasement coming. They know the money printers are about to be turned on, and we all know what happens next. Money flows out of these assets into Bitcoin. And money is, again, we can talk about whether this is coincidental timing that we do see all of this, let's call it what it is, propaganda come out about gold and silver. But who saw this week? Scientists are now being able to mimic the Big Bang, and they accidentally turn lead into gold. You've seen all of these coordinated attack headlines come out against gold because it is going absolutely parabolic and because it is the second largest, well, gold's the largest asset and silver's the second largest asset in the world. And again, while we're talking about gold and silver, I want to be comprehensive. Talked a lot about the bull case for gold and silver and why they're great assets to own. But check this out. This gentleman's pissed. A man is fuming after the Royal Mail offer him £750 as a compensation after he lost 10,000 pounds of a gold bar in the post. This is, again, another big issue when it comes to trying to actually get your hands on the physical gold and silver. This guy thought he was doing the right thing. He wanted to buy 10,000 pounds of physical gold. They lost it in the post. So they said, oh, don't worry, mate. We'll give you a $750 coupon and a kick in the chest, and we'll try to make you whole. Wouldn't you be pissed? I would be. I'd be fuming if that happened to me. Again, say a prayer for the gold and silver owners. Ouch indeed, my friends. Ouch indeed. Again, whether you're getting ripped off by the bullion banks and they're going to offer you literally 30% under the spot price, just be aware, like, yes, gold and silver is going parabolic right now. Just be aware of the downsides and, you know, be aware of the trade-offs for everything. Now, we talked a lot about gold and silver. We'll come back to that in a moment. But I want to play the rest of this clip from this WEF insider because she has some interesting things to say about Larry Fink and a lot of this talk about, you know, the reset that we're living through.
Discussions. And what we have to understand is that there is this reset that is coming, this 100% digitalization of the entire financial structure. I mean, we're quasi entirely digitized when it comes to our financial services and the financial system, but we're talking about a 100% digitalization with CBDCs, with stable coins coming. And this is a topic that is very dear, especially to Larry Fink, who has been pushing tokenization extremely hard over the last few years. Especially you look just at 2025, the number of papers and articles that he personally put out on this topic, his annual, chairman letter to BlackRock was on tokenization. And I'd love to actually give a hat tip to Tim Hinchliffe, who reports on the globalists as well. And he came out with an article entitled how the WEF wants to monetize everything in nature on the sociable. And I encourage the posse to read that because it does explain what exactly is tokenization. And essentially what Larry Fink wants to do and what he envisions is that all assets will be shared on a single blockchain. And this is the direction where we're headed. And we need to understand this because with the digitalization of the entire financial structure, that's the key for total centralization of power and control. And this is how they're going to essentially enslave us and reach their stated end goal of we will own nothing. And we actually won't be happy, but we will own nothing. And we will basically be living like serfs 2.0, where everything is a subscription model and we actually don't own anything. So this is the underlying, I think, topic that we need to be paying attention to alongside, obviously, AI, as I mentioned, and the geopolitical reshuffle.
Well, that's at the individual level. They want you to own nothing and to be happy. But what about at the state level? I saw this as well. I nearly forgot to mention this, talking about gold and silver. But now Germany, again, one of the horrific decisions they made was to keep their gold in America. And now they have politicians in the country screaming, repatriate our gold. Economists advise withdrawal from US vaults. Again, this goes back to the custody issue, the custody conundrum when it comes to gold and silver. I completely forgot that they didn't even hold the real thing. They don't hold their own gold. These nation states don't do it. Now, while we're talking about the fundamental drivers of gold and silver, I will remind you, I saw this today. This is nuts. The Saudi government is reportedly investing $100 billion of its oil and mineral wealth into silver as the metal just surpassed $100 per ounce for the first time in history. Again, $100 billion being invested into a market that right now is very constrained and having a lot of issues. I think it's interesting. I think it's very interesting. Again, as you guys say, be very careful buying a chart that looks parabolic like gold and silver is. But, we are living in those reset times. We are living in times where it's becoming very abundantly clear to most people that the WEF is evil and the monetary system is breaking. Absolutely. Yeah, and she's there's a few people looking rough. One of those is me. I'm super sick right now, so I apologize for the dirty voice. I got a sore tummy and a scratchy voice, but the live stream had to be done today because gold and silver are going absolutely parabolic. And again, we've been talking a lot about the World Economic Forum this week, but I think the signal here is there's a reason why there is accelerated talks about resets and financial system resets and increased geopolitical conflict, it's because we are living through a deglobalizing world and people are looking for solutions. Again, here's some more propaganda that I saw being spread about gold and silver. Scientists turn lead into gold for the first time ever. And again, I've covered this a lot, but I'm sure there's a few new people here, so I'll cover it again. The Bank of England released this suspiciously timed report on the 18th of January as silver flew past $100 an ounce. And you guys can read the title of this. Bank of England must plan for a financial crisis, wait for it, triggered by aliens, says former policy expert. Don't you think that's nuts? So this is real. Helen McCaw served as a senior analyst at the UK Central Bank for over a decade. She just wrote a letter to the governor, Andrew Bailey, the current governor, this week, urging him to set out contingencies if the existence of alien life is confirmed. This is real. This is nuts. But again, the kicker is in this final sentence of this article where she said precious metals might lose their status as perceived safe haven assets if people speculate that new spacefaring technologies will soon increase the supply of gold and silver. Do you see what they're trying to say? They are seeding the narrative here. Oh, look out. Aliens are here, so you better sell your gold and silver. I think that's kind of nuts. This, to me, just confirms what we've been talking about this week. The World Economic Forum is freaking out. They have absolutely lost control of the narrative. And by the way, I didn't say it because I didn't want to get myself in trouble, but that is Osama bin Laden's niece, that World Economic Forum insider we were just listening to. Don't you think that's interesting? No comment. What do my Americans say? I plead the fifth. I won't make a comment on that. But again, we know the game here. Central banks have admitted to manipulating the price of gold and silver for some time now. This is, again, another big reason why I'm such a big Bitcoin advocate. Yes, there are technical, there are technical hurdles to jump with understanding Bitcoin and storing Bitcoin correctly. But once you can do that, it is far superior to trying to get your hands on physical gold and silver. Again, some dude lost $10,000 of gold in the mail. Again, have a look at what happens to people who try to cross borders with their own gold. Plane passenger caught smuggling gold nuggets in the wazoo. I talk about this all the time because it's a great example of why gold and silver is simply inferior. This is why I always talk about just how easy it is to self-custody your Bitcoin. Put it in one of these, a little USB. These are Bitcoin hardware wallets. Again, highly recommend you check them out. There's links down below for ledgers and Trezors. I think they're super easy. And again, if you are looking for a super secure and safe Bitcoin setup, always let you guys know about what Bitvault has created. They've created an application that makes setting up a multi-sig or a time-locked Bitcoin wallet super simple and easy to deal with. I've personally used Bitvault to set up one of these vaults in like 10 minutes, where I have chosen to lock my Bitcoin wallet for a specific amount of time. So you can choose to lock it for 10 days, 10 weeks, or 10 years. And it doesn't matter if somebody kidnaps you or tortures you and tries to steal your Bitcoin, you can't move it. That's again why Bitcoin is superior. And again, if you would prefer to maybe have your hand held in the taking self-custody journey that is Bitcoin, there's another reason why I've partnered up with my friends at the Bitcoin Way. They are your Bitcoin coach. I think they're the best Bitcoin coach. They help you master your Bitcoin self-custody. If you use the link down below, you can book a free 30-minute consultation with the guys over there at the Bitcoin Way, and they can help you with absolutely everything that pertains to Bitcoin, whether that's taking self-custody of your Bitcoin, simply taking it off an exchange, or showing you how to set up a hardware wallet, or helping you set up more complicated Bitcoin custody setups, or running a node. Literally anything you need help with, they can help you. So as I always remind you to do, just book a call with the guys, free 30-minute call. Learn how much easier it is to take self-custody of your Bitcoin and actually own the real thing, so that you don't get caught with your pants down, losing $10,000 of gold in the mail like this gentleman did. Again, things are getting volatile out there. This chart is particularly interesting. We literally just saw silver's biggest daily move since 2008. Now, again, I want to show you my favorite chart. I show it as often as I can. This is looking at the volatility of gold priced in the German mark during the 1920s. You can see things got increasingly volatile the closer that we got to that financial reset. Again, if you compare the price of gold in the German mark to the price of gold and silver today, I mean, even as someone who owns very little, if not zero gold and silver right now, the comparisons are mind-boggling. This is the price of gold today. That just kind of looks a lot like what the price of gold in the 1920s in Germany looked like during that hyperinflationary melt-up. So again, markets are becoming increasingly volatile. Again, we can see that if we have a look at the stock market. This has been my base case for some time. These corrections that we see in stocks are going to be increasingly volatile. Again, you can just see that in the chart. Every correction that we've seen since the year 2000, it's been bought up quicker, and that's because central banks with massive debt loads cannot afford for these corrections to be prolonged. This is why for the past 5 years, despite all of the propaganda surrounding, oh, the yield curve's inverted, look out, the yield curve is signaling the biggest crash since 1929. There's a reason why I've been beating the same drum here on the channel for 5 years. You are going to see a melt up in stocks. And, you know, I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, but we've seen a melt up. And the reason is because we're living through a sovereign debt crisis, and they're going to have to print money out of the wazoo to keep things propped up. Now, again, don't get my message wrong. We could comfortably see a 30% pullback here in equities. And that wouldn't invalidate the thesis of a melt up. But I think a lot of the doomers out there like Harry Dent and co. and Dave Collum, they've been calling for this 90% crash and reversion back to 2008 levels. And I'm just going to be very surprised if we see that. Again, there is no certainties in the markets or financial markets. There is only probabilities. Literally anything could happen. But I think it's becoming abundantly clear that we are seeing a melt up in the markets. And this is what gold and silver is just coming to realize now. This is why gold and silver look like this. Smart investors are finally realizing that bonds are a trash investment and it's all over. Again, if you look at the TLT, this is supposed to be the safe haven for the world, the US 20-year bond. I've got a 25-year chart on screen right now. You can see what the flip happened in 2020. For the first time in history, for the first time in 50 years, mind you, we are in a prolonged bond bear market. The TLT, for example, down 55%. It is blowing up. The financial system is absolutely blowing up. By the way, let me show you something else I saw today. I didn't mean to rhyme that. Japan one of the largest and most systematically important financial systems in the world, right now could be on the brink of not only bankruptcy, but being bailed out by the Fed. Have a look at this. This is a banana story. We can see Michael Burry is warning of a Japanese capital repatriation risk. Now, that's a lot of buzzwords, but I think the charts he shared here are pretty important. Look at the volatility we've seen in the daily yield change in the Japanese bond market. Look at how high these yields have soared. They're going parabolic. The yields in Japan right now are, I think, the highest in history. It's kind of nuts. And look at all of the foreign assets held by Japanese investors. When a lot of people talk about the yen carry trade being unwound, this is what we're talking about. Japanese investors hold $5 trillion of assets. And look at this. Now we're talking about yen, but you can see that the Japanese investors hold 340 trillion yen of US investments. You can see they only really hold US assets. $340 trillion of yen in US assets and $27 trillion of yen of French, 23 trillion of the UK. So Japan has 90% of its assets invested in the US. You can see 128 trillion in Cayman Island assets, but that's essentially a proxy for America. Let's not get that wrong. So again, if Japan is unwinding right now as we talk, boy, this is why we're seeing accelerated talks of economic resets, financial system resets. This is, again, we've been talking about this for 5 years on the channel, but it really looks as if things are really starting to heat up again. Some people are calling it GME Part 2. This here's another chart that really shows the blow up of the Japanese bonds. They've gone from 0 to 3, 4, 5% interest rates nearly overnight. Shit is blowing up. It's getting crazy out there, guys. It's getting really crazy out there. Again, I think it's probably just yet another reminder. Get your ducks in a row now. If you have Bitcoin sat on an exchange, get it off. Go and get it into self-custody. Again, like I said earlier, I got links down below for Trezors and Ledger. Again, if you want to get anything that's going to be valuable in a reset, it's self-custodied assets. It's as simple as that. As that gentleman found, $10,000 lost in gold in the mail. Taking self-custody is an absolute essential when we're living through these reset times. Be very, very careful out there. I still can't believe silver right now is more valuable than Nvidia, Apple, and Google. This chart here is, let's just call it what it is, illuminating. Very, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Again, silver's a great metal, but it's not as good as this metal here for your Bitcoin. Again, while we're talking about self-custody, you'd be silly to go and buy a Bitcoin hardware wallet and write down your backup to that hardware wallet on paper. Do not put your 12 or 24 words on paper. Go put it on titanium. Again, Stampseed is running a massive winter sale, which means you could get a big, sexy kit like this for your Bitcoin 12 or 24 words on sale. I think their winter sale ends next week, so go take advantage of that. And you can also stack the discount Luke 15, that's a 15% discount, on top of the discounts that they already have on the shop. So again, jump on over to Stampseed. Again, whatever you want to buy, if you just apply that coupon code, Luke15, you can get even bigger discounts. So you can see this is 12% off the deluxe titanium seed stamping kit. If you go on over to your card, or your cart, sorry, and apply the discount code Luke15, you can see you get an extra 15% discount added on top of it. So that's what, well over 25% off. Again, go and take advantage of that winter sale while it lasts and get your money outside of the system. All Night Hyde has made it simple for you guys. He's literally put links to all of the channel partners that make the complete Bitcoin self-custody thesis a reality. Again, there's a lot of tools out there that make Bitcoin superior to gold and silver. Learn how to use the tools and you'll be protected. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments though. If you've got gold and silver, are you able to sell it for a better discount than 30% below spot? That's nuts. When I saw that tweet this morning, I nearly didn't believe it. Just reading some of your comments here, guys. Again, I'm not a precious gold expert, but I'm pretty sure like the ratio of gold and silver in the earth is like 7-1, which is kind of wild when you think about it. Silver's really been demonetized. And I mean, silver is nearly $300 an ounce in Dubai and Japan right now. We showed you guys the chart of the premiums. Here it is here. Silver is $145 an ounce in Japan, $165 in the UAE, and $140 an ounce in China. Isn't that nuts? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, hey, who knows? I have no idea. Knowledge Beyond Stars in the chat says gold to 15,000 an ounce, silver to 1,000 an ounce. I saw someone in the chat mention that the silver bubble has to burst. Now, obviously, if you look at the chart of silver, it looks like it's in a bubble. Absolutely, it looks that way. But I mean, I think fiat currency here is the real bubble. Just don't ever forget that. Fiat money is the bubble, the big bubble. Guys, with all that said, my laptop's on 3%. I'm about to go and film another video for you guys that's going to be coming out this week regarding the World Economic Forum. So make sure you subscribe for that. And with all that said, I will wish you guys a happy Monday, and I'll see you all in the